Welcome to Pieces for My Puzzle. I'm your host, Nikki Shipp, and I'm excited to be sharing with you my life with a son on the spectrum. This podcast is for anyone who is looking for quick tips and perspective, but most of all, for hope and inspiration. So sit back, relax, and let's put the pieces together. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Pieces for My Puzzle. I'm your host, Nikki Shipp. Thank you so much for joining us today. Last week, we had the great pleasure of speaking with Mr. Craig Parks. If you did not get a chance to tune into that episode, please do. We talked about the organization that he founded called Parenting Harmony and his parenting program, but how to basically create memorable moments with music. So I highly recommend that you listen to the episode, and I want to thank Greg again for being on the show. Excuse me, Craig, not Greg, for being on the show. I greatly appreciate you. I had an absolute wonderful time. This week, I am especially excited to have Mr. Jason Deitrich on the show today. Jason is a certified STEM educator and current science communications specialist at an organization called Science Systems and Applications Incorporated, also known as SSAI. Passionate about promoting diversity, inclusion, and accessibility with the STEM field, Jason leverages his unique perspective as someone with hyperlexia to inspire and empower others. From his beginnings as a middle school STEM teacher during the pandemic to hosting the SSAI podcast and engaging in social media outreach, Jason's work is dedicated to connecting people with science in meaningful ways. Please welcome Jason to the show today. Thank you so much for being here, Jason.
Nikki, that was a wonderful introduction. It's greatly appreciated. And Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be there.
Absolutely. I know this has been a long time coming. We spoke a long time ago, but I'm so glad we were finally able to have you on the show today. I just kind of want to jump right in and just, why don't you start by telling our listeners today a little bit about yourself and what inspired your passion to become or to go into STEM education?
Yeah, that's a great question, Nikki. I'm happy to explain that. So just to give the audience a little bit of an introduction just about myself, I originally grew up in the state of Pennsylvania. And I recently relocated to the state of Maryland, where I'm based right now for my current full-time position at SSAI. And in terms of how I specifically got interested into STEM, Nikki, it was pretty much when I got into middle school. Where I discovered some talents in STEM because I remember I was introduced to concepts like astronomy, chemistry, also a little bit of physics as well. And I realized that from what my teachers were doing in terms of encouraging me to act as a scientist, that really hooked me very nicely. And I have to say that based on those opportunities, I enjoy being the scientist. And I'm definitely someone who learns best through visual aids. I like to use my hands as well. I don't just like to sit in a chair and, just listen to a lecture for an hour for the whole time. So, and unfortunately, those methods don't work anymore because of the continued technological advancements that we have had. So I very much enjoyed the hands-on STEM learning. And I realized, Nikki, that STEM provides multiple different highways of opportunity and engagement. There's so many different things that you can do with STEM. And, I discovered that STEM was my superpower. It was my unique gift. And it later transitioned on, to high school and college, where I got my Bachelor of Science degree in General Science, where I am certified to teach middle school. And I started out as a public school teacher teaching a middle school STEM. And I started during the COVID-19 pandemic, which was quite
great timing.
Quite an interesting time to be a teacher, but there were a lot of innovations that came with that. And then I discovered some opportunities in the aerospace industry. And so I was able to apply my teaching experiences very well as a communication specialist at SSAI.
That's awesome. Bill, sorry, I'm going to pause just one second. Bill, the timer's not running. It's recording, right? I'm so sorry.
Shoot, yeah, it's recording. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to make sure. So I'm going to clap. He'll edit this part out. Sorry, Jason. I get paranoid because I was like, oh my God, it's not running. We got to start all over.
Yeah, no, we're recording. We are good.
I'm sorry, Bill. Okay, well,
That's okay.
That'll be an edit. Yay for you.
Absolutely.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. All right. I'm glad we paused, though, at a perfect time. So I'll just lead into the next question. Okay, Jason? Okay.
Sounds great. Right. You're doing great.
All right. Thank you. It's always like, what you don't realize is happening behind the scenes. So, okay. So tell me, Jason, how would you describe your role at SSAI? Because I know, you kind of fell into this, I think, from going from public school into working with SSAI. So can you tell me a little bit about your role there and what you do?
Absolutely. Very happy to. So, for those of your audience and viewers who might not be as familiar with a position like myself, as was mentioned earlier, I'm a communication specialist. And pretty much my responsibility and roles are I am responsible for taking all of the projects that SSAI is currently working with. We have scientists, we have engineers, we have technicians, and we have a variety of educators that do multiple different outreach projects. But I am responsible for taking those projects and coming up with meaningful storytelling experiences that really helps to showcase SSAI's subject matter expertise. And one of the ways that I am primarily doing that is coming up with social media posts, for example. We are pretty much found on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, X. We have our own YouTube channel, and then we're also on Blue Sky too. So I definitely encourage all of your audience and viewers to check us out even further. So I primarily develop social media posts that allow us to be able to, share our stories and our impact to our audience. And then on top of that, another thing that I do is I'm a podcast guy too myself, Nikki, as well. So I am responsible for interviewing all of our employees and helping them to share their stories and experiences with their projects. So that way, again, everybody can understand the global impact that SSAI is involved in. And there's a lot of editing with videos that comes with it, which is very, very awesome. I very much enjoy doing that. And then I also do some internal communications as well, where I'm responsible for sending out company-wide emails. And I'm also responsible for sending out our weekly newsletter as well. So it's pretty much, with my position, finding meaningful and effective ways to communicate, not just internally in the company, but also externally as well. And somebody in your audience who's interested in this kind of opportunity, this is definitely a career path for you as well. Yeah. So I'm just, I'm learning and growing through the use of my communication strategies. And, it's been a wonderful experience of being there for the last year and a half.
Absolutely. And I think it's great, too, that you're promoting, the science industry, so to speak, because I think it's encouraging, right? It's encouraging to also see that. And I think that it's so needed because, there's so much technology and we are definitely on that path. Like, it's not like a trend. This wave is here to stay is what I kind of always say when it comes to STEM education. But I think that there's so many ways too that you can connect to somebody, even the special needs community through STEM education. And sometimes I feel like that subject is even still a little underserved in the special needs community sometimes. So I love that you guys are really highlighting that on your social media and through your podcast, because I think that it's so needed across the board, not just special needs, but just in general. I think that there's so many wonderful things out there that we can learn and grow, and some people don't necessarily affiliate science with that. At least that's been my perception throughout my career, because I was very science oriented too growing up. I'm I love more of the health sciences. I did a lot of nutrition. My undergrad degree's in nutrition and organic chemistry, minor in chemistry. So it's like I love the science-based type of curriculum. But I do think that it's a little bit underserved in the special needs community. And I know you've when we had our call, you opened up to me about your experience with hyperlexia, which is, in a lot of ways a form of autism. Can you share how this influenced your career to work in STEM education?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question, Nikki. So, for those of your audience and viewers who might not be as familiar with hyperlexia, I know, Nikki, like you said, it is a
Yeah.
form of autism, but it's one of the branches of autism. So,
Yeah.
if you think about it like a brain, hyperlexia is one branch, and then, Asperger's is another branch
Yes.
of autism, and, the list definitely
Yes.
continues on from there.
The net is wide.
So,
Yes.
Exactly. So, but hyperlexia, it was interesting, Nikki. It goes all the way back to, when I was 5 years old, and that just seemed like ages ago, even though I'm 29 years old right now. But when I was 5 years old, my parents discovered that I had this keen ability to read words at such a high level. In kindergarten, I was reading words equivalent to a fifth grader. And they were just amazed. They were so impressed by that. So, and originally they thought that, well, if Jason is able to read words at such a high level, well, then he must be able to comprehend what he's reading.
Yes.
So the next thing was they started asking me some questions in regards to, hey, Jason, what does this particular word or phrase mean? And very often, Nikki, I would say something like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So hyperlexia is something that's characterized by a child's precocious ability to read words at such a high level, but yet struggles with reading comprehension. And I do have to tell you, Nikki, that throughout my experiences in elementary school, I unfortunately had teachers, including administrators, who did not support me in terms of my skill sets and my abilities. I even, Nikki, had one teacher in fifth grade write a completely wrong evaluation about my skill set levels and my abilities. That when I transitioned on to middle school, my poor middle school teachers, including my learning support teachers, took a look at the evaluation and they said, well, who is this kid? This isn't Jason at all. This is a totally different kid that they just wrote about. Right. So I often struggled a lot in elementary school. I was upset. I was anxious quite a bit. But then my middle school teachers discovered that I struggled with hyperlexia. They sat me down. They worked with me. And Nikki, this is something I wanted to bring to your audience. But they later helped me to discover that hyperlexia is not a disability, but it is, in fact, a superpower. Because they helped me to discover my talents in STEM. When I got introduced to hands-on learning in STEM, I also had an eidetic memory. I discovered that I'm very musically inclined as well through vocals and, clarinet playing as well. So they helped me to see that hyperlexia is a very tiny thing. And that's something I want to express, to your audience. There's nothing wrong with a new way of thinking or like new ideas. And I'm trying, especially at SSAI, all of us at the company we're trying to encourage everybody to not blend into society. And that's something that's very important. I've heard educators say that previously. And I'm like, well, why are you saying that, for example, myself should go into, I don't know, like, let's say healthcare if you're not interested in doing so?
Yeah.
We're doing a bit of a disservice to the next generation and especially every generation if we say that. So we're definitely trying to bridge the gap and we're trying to encourage everybody to do what they are passionate about. And, thanks to my middle school teachers, Nikki, they really helped me to discover that I had a unique gift, not a disability.
Yeah, and I love that because we struggled with something similar with Drayson. And I know I told you when we spoke a while back, like Drayson, same thing. He read beautifully, but there was no comprehension at all. And he ended up having also dyscalculia and dysgraphia as well as dyslexia. But and it's so hard because just because a child reads well doesn't mean that there's not something that they might need more help with. And that was my whole point when I was trying to find those resources for Drayson. And it was very disheartening. And it wasn't until he got into the second half of his third grade year, and we ended up with a beautiful, wonderful teacher, Mr. David. And I have to give him mad props for him supporting my son in a way that I had never seen. And but at the same time, he was so patient and so kind, and a lot of the anxiety and stress that Drayson was having from, just trying to learn on a daily basis, it was like that stress was going away. And then it was like he was finally able to relax. And because he could relax and he felt like he was in a safe enough environment, the comprehension started coming together. He started to learn. He started to, take in information. He started to engage. And I don't think that this teacher realizes what a huge blessing he was to not just our son, but to our family in general, because it was disheartening for us to go through that with other educators and for it to kind of be pushed under the rug. And that was something that was really, really hard for me to understand and to comprehend on an emotional intelligence level, So I think that, it's amazing that you've taken those struggles, and even at such a young age, you were able to transform them into where you are today. And I think that's very, very commendable. And thank God you had those people in your life to help mentor you and help you along the way, because I think you've talked to lots of other people, as have I, where they didn't necessarily get to have that experience growing up, and they've just continually always struggled, So I think your message is so, so important. What key lessons have you learned throughout your career that you'd like to share with listeners who are maybe interested in pursuing STEM careers?
Yeah, that's a great question, Nikki. And I would definitely say, in terms of advice, there are 4 C's that I follow. And one of them is you have to be creative. You also have to be compassionate. You also have to be a great communicator. And then, most importantly, you have to be caring as well.
I love that.
So, with all of those items, caring, number one, you have to be able to value everybody's, thought processes. You have to be willing to take everybody's feedback into account. And you also have to care about the projects that you're working on, because if you don't really care about what it is that you do, well, then that's not really doing any benefit to you, or, let's say the company as a whole. So that's definitely something that's very, very important. And, with being compassionate as well, for somebody like myself, I am very, very grateful that SSAI has been accepting of somebody like me and hasn't, pushed me off to the side. Right. Just like I was early on in my educational journey. So you definitely have to be willing to be compassionate and understand how somebody learns like myself. And because you never know, Nikki, what somebody like myself, could do. Somebody like myself could be responsible for helping to come up with a cure for cancer. Or, somebody like me could be responsible to be the next astronaut, which, believe it or not, that's something that I want to do. Because, amazing. Because I'm trying to inspire the next generation that, just because, you might, like I said, I don't like using the word disability because that's negative. But just because you might think differently, that doesn't mean that you can't achieve great things as well. So that's definitely something I wanted to, pass to your audience. And then, also in regards to being a great communicator, you have to advocate for yourself. You have to be willing to ask for help. You have to be learning. You have to be able to learn from your mistakes. It's not going to be an easy path to get to where you are. It was just multiple different zigzags to get to SSAI. I was knocked down many times. And, with your dreams, it takes time. You have to be patient. So that is definitely something that I wanted to pass to your audience. And it's important, too, that you just think that everything's going to come at an appointed time. You just have to believe in it and trust in the path. So I thank God to this day for getting me to where I am today. I'm so grateful for that. And then, also too, in regards to being creative, somebody like myself thinks outside the box. And this is something that SSAI promotes and inspires as well. There's nothing wrong with outside the box thinking. So it really enables us to, think of new solutions rather than just be restricted in a box. As soon as you open it, oh my gosh, the sky's the limit. So definitely, like I said, if you have new ideas and if you think outside the box, don't be restricted in a box. Just, think outside the box and find great people and organizations that will support you. And I know at SSAI, for somebody in your audience who's interested in checking us out, please definitely check us out because we promote those ideas and concepts.
Yeah, I love that too, because I think sometimes we don't realize, and if you look back in history, I think history has proven that some of the best ideas have come from being outside of the box, and some of our best inventors and, innovations have come from thinking outside the box. And sometimes they're just happy accidents because they were outside the box, and I think that we don't give that enough credit. So I think you bring up a wonderful point in regard to that. Can you tell us a little bit more about, what SSAI is doing to inspire the next generation of STEM professionals? I know you talked about the podcast and how you promote internally and externally. Is there anything additional that SSAI is currently working on to help that next generation get into STEM education?
Absolutely, Nikki. That is a great question. So SSAI, again, that stands for Science Systems and Applications Incorporated. But we are a 48-year-old women-owned minority small business with a powerful mission and vision. At our core, SSAI is driven by a purpose, which is to improve life on Earth through innovation and leadership in science, engineering, and data analytics. Our vision extends beyond projects and programs. We strive to answer the world's most important societal and scientific questions, from the depths of our oceans to the far reaches of space. And our mission focuses on expanding knowledge of the universe through excellence in Earth and space science, developing cutting-edge engineering and technology solutions, and nurturing talent for the well-being of humanity and the environment. And, that's just not words. It's our daily work. And at SSAI, we bring together some of the brightest minds. Again, we have scientists, engineers, educators, technicians, and communicators like myself who are leading breakthrough efforts. For example, through our work with NASA's Global Modeling and Assimilation Office, also known as the GMAO, our team contributes to life-saving weather models that forecast wildfire risks and tsunami threats. And others use remote sensing to predict water quality changes and harmful algal blooms, which is helping communities act before crises occur or a crisis occurs. And we are also helping develop the future of Earth system modeling through contributions to the JEDI Geos Coupled Data Assimilation System. And by improving how we integrate satellite and observational data, we're enhancing the accuracy of environmental predictions across the globe. But what really, Nikki, sets SSAI apart is how we translate science into action. Through citizen science initiatives that we have, like training communities to collect real-world environmental data or building DIY tools like the Stella spectrometer. We make science accessible from classrooms to college campuses. We make that content readily available to a wide variety of audiences. But our creative teams even bring science to life through games like Snap It and Eclipse Photo Adventure, which was nominated for a Webby Award, which is an international award. So,
that's amazing.
So And, in relation to, what we do as well, Nikki, we also believe in storytelling. So our visual communicators help the public understand complex data, while programs that we have like Black Marble reveal Earth's nighttime patterns, supporting emergency response, and even environmental monitoring. And then, finally, with over 140,000 people trained through programs like NASA's RSTEP, which stands for our Applied Remote Sensing Education Training Program, we're not just generating knowledge, we're sharing it widely. And sharing data can be used by decision makers, educators, and everyday scientists. And, like I said, at SSAI, we're not only advancing science, we're building the bridge to the next generation, whether through innovation, education, or empowerment. Our goal is simple: to leave the world better than we found it. And we're just getting started with that.
I love that. I love the mission that you guys, your values and your mission and what you guys are trying to do for the community. I think it's just absolutely phenomenal. And I think that the work that you're doing is going to set such wonderful foundational groundwork for it to just keep going. So I think that it's absolutely commendable what SSAI is doing. For listeners that want to pursue careers as science educators or communicators, like like yourself, like what advice would you give to them, and how could they potentially get started?
Yeah, that's a great question, Nikki. So I would definitely say, in terms of some additional advice that I have, one of the main things that I would definitely encourage your audience and your viewers to do is to spend time by yourself and really get to know yourself. Now, you might think that that's a negative, spending time alone, because often in elementary school, I spent time by myself quite a bit because I wasn't as confident with being able to speak to others. I wasn't, as confident to communicate effectively as well and comprehend, the conversations that were going on.
Right.
So it's very, very important that you spend time by yourself, whether it's in a room, whether you go on vacation, whatever your happy place is, let's say, but just find some time to spend time by yourself and really get to know like who it is that you are and, what it is that you want to do. And on top of that, whenever you think of something in your head or in your imagination, that pretty much means that that is something that you need to pursue and that you just need to go for it. For example, my dream is to be the next astronaut, which I'm very, very excited to pursue. So it's not going to be easy, but what you have to do is when you get something in your imagination, it comes straight from God, because God is showing you a preview of a life that He has for you. And if you think about it, your imagination is one of the most powerful things that you have. So, so definitely in relation to that, whatever dreams or aspirations that you have, you should definitely go for it as well. So, and it will come at an appointed time. So, and again, you just have to be patient. There are times where I've said, oh my gosh, why am I not there yet? I've done all this work. I should be there right now. Well, God is training you as well. So just, keep that in mind as well. He trained me to be an effective communicator in terms of going to SSAI, where I am right now, and He's training me to become an astronaut as well. So you have to trust the process, even if it's in the unknown as well. And you have to be able to, be comfortable in the uncomfortable. And that's another quote I wanted to express as well. So you definitely want to not be afraid to step outside your comfort zone. And you also just want to tune out, as well. Like, let's say I do a lot of work with social media and YouTube as well. But you don't want to necessarily get sucked in 100% of the time to, let's say, anything negative that might be going on in the news right now. For example, with the Russia and Ukraine war that is currently going on right now, while it's very sad and it's very heartbreaking to see, it doesn't really relate to what it is, that I'm doing. I pray for both of those, areas. I hope that there's peace that comes with it, but you can't get distracted with, world global affairs or problems that are going on right now. You have to stick with yourself, stick to what you're good at, And, most importantly, everything will come, and you just have to work hard. You can't just sit around and do nothing. Because then otherwise it won't happen. So that is definitely something I wanted to share. And then also, too, another thing, Nikki, is don't be afraid to fail. And that is, something important as well. Like, I failed sometimes, but believe it or not, sometimes you might learn a lot more when you fail compared to if you get it right the first time.
Oh, yeah,
So,
absolutely. I can speak to that myself. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that is definitely something, that's very key. So, and, you just have to trust the process, because nobody's perfect.
Right.
But, the world is your library. So you just have to take advantage of those resources and, really be willing to step outside your comfort zone, branch even further. And believe me, with your hard work and determination, you will be rewarded for it at an appointed time.
Yeah. And I love that you talk about just also spending time with yourself too. I think sometimes that helps for you to turn it inward and reflect and decide, where are my passions? What do I really enjoy doing? Where can I, be of service to the community, or even for myself as an individual? And so I think that that's such a wonderful key point that you bring up, as well as just not to be afraid to take that chance. And I think sometimes great success sometimes does come out of failures, in my opinion, because of what we learn, or even the happy accident of maybe what we discovered that we weren't expecting to discover. So I think that you bring up some wonderful, valid points, and it's so true, because I think it's hard, especially when you're younger, to do those things. And because there's the demand of everyday life, or there's the demand from your educational system, or from your sports, or from whatever it is that you're doing, like you get siloed into the demand of the daily grind, so to speak, and not so much of where your passion is lying, or what you really want to pursue. So sometimes we grow up and we go, I don't know. At least that happened to me. It's like I got out of high school and, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I'm like, good question. I don't know. Like, and it just, but you step into it with kind of blind faith. And once you do that and you kind of surrender to that, it's amazing what you can discover about yourself. So I love that you sent that message to our listeners today. Thank you so much for saying that. I know for those of you listening, we are going to post all of the information into the show notes, but I just want to kind of leave with one final question. How do you see the future of STEM evolving, especially with regards to inclusivity and accessibility? I'm just curious to see what your take is on that.
Absolutely, Nikki, and I think that's a wonderful question. So I think in terms of STEM opportunities over the last 50, 60 years, going all the way back to JFK with the space race, we have seen such a huge, broader outreach in terms of STEM in regards to, space travel, for example. There's many other, companies out there, not just, NASA now. We have SpaceX, we have Blue Origin, we have Virgin Galactic, and we also have, other companies that are out in Europe as well, going all the way to Japan, who are bringing, astronauts up into space as well. So there are ample opportunities out there now, and I think our former 35th president John F. Kennedy would be very, very proud and very inspired to see all these great tech companies that are out there now that are providing these ample opportunities. Because I know when it first started, originally with astronauts, a lot of times they were like pilots or in the military somehow. So there wasn't a whole lot of opportunity, but now it's expanded out even further. And then, we've also been even more inclusive, where we've included those from with different skin colors as well. I know that some famous women like Katherine Johnson, for example, also known as NASA's computer, originally African Americans were treated differently 50, 60 years ago.
Right.
But now with, recognizing their superpowers and their gifts as well. Look at what someone like she has accomplished
Yeah.
as well, including, Dorothy Vaughan and, Mary Jackson as well. Those three African American ladies did a significant contributions to NASA, and they were rewarded for
Yeah.
that, after some time. And then, also, Nikki, on top of that, something else that was most important was, and unfortunately, I forget this woman's name, but it happened very recently. But there was a woman who went up into space recently, and I believe she was diagnosed with cancer. And I think
Okay.
she lost one of her legs because of it, I believe.
Wow.
So, and she is a cancer survivor, but still, despite those limitations, what was really inspiring from her was that she still went, and
Yes.
now she is promoting health awareness in regards to coming up with a cure for cancer. I know definitely one day there will be a cure for cancer. I don't know when, but there
Right.
will be a cure for cancer at
Yeah.
some point in the future. But that was just very inspiring to see because, again, astronauts come from a variety of different backgrounds and a variety of different stories that
Yeah.
they share. And it's all very, very unique. So
Yeah.
we are definitely, expanding even further with that. And is there still more work that needs to be done? Absolutely. But,
Yes.
over these last, several decades, we have seen, such significant, opportunities come up even further. So I'm definitely very excited to see those opportunities, continuing to grow. And I think there's going to be plenty of additional opportunities to go to space. So if you can dream it, you can do it.
That's amazing. I really appreciate the conversation that we had today, Jason. Thank you so much for being on the show. I think you're such an inspiration to our community, especially promoting STEM education and SSAI. Like I said to our listeners listening in today, we will post all of this information in the show notes so you will know how to find out more about SSAI or get in touch with Jason, and also about their podcast as well. We'll list all of that in the show notes. But once again, Jason, thank you so much for being on the show. I really greatly appreciate you.
Absolutely, Nikki. Again, thanks so much for having me. It was great to share my story with everyone.
Yes, absolutely. This concludes our episode for today. If you have questions, comments, or even a show topic that you'd like to hear about, please feel free to send me an email at info@piecesformypuzzle.com. I'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram if you haven't done so already, or feel free to check out our YouTube channel as well. If you like what you're hearing and you feel that this might help some friends or family or people that you know in your community, please spread the word. We want to continue empowering families. And feel free to give us a good rating on your preferred podcast platform of choice as well. Thanks again for tuning in. And until next time, keep working on your puzzle. And remember, you don't have to have it all solved in a day. Take care.